it's one of the biggest decisions we make as parents, where you send your kids to school, public or private, co-ed or same-sex. Campbelltown St Patrick's College for Girls principal Sue Lennox says boys get away with stuff because boys will be boys, and that is a dreadful lesson for girls. That is what girls at co-ed schools learn, she said. When girls, and I continue on with the quotation marks, when girls are in class without the boys, they can be themselves. It's a safe place where they can ask questions. They don't feel they have to be anyone in particular because there are no boys. They grow in confidence. Now, I went to 16 different schools, so I've had a fair share of taste of everything, including same-sex, and it probably was beneficial for me at that stage. But I guess it begs the question, what happens when you enter the workforce? And shock horror, there are boys. I feel like it also adds to this kind of this myth that men are evil as well, that so many parts of society seem to jump into. Nova's Michelle Stevenson and media commentator Melissa Hoyer join me now. Melissa, what do you think about it?
I mean, my son went to a public school for junior school, and then for high school he went to a private school. But, you know, we did that purely, and it was a boys' private school. We did it purely because the school he was going to was fantastic, as are so many public schools, of course. So, you know, it's funny when there's so many issues out there with people sort of nearly having a go at you because you have chosen to send your children or child to a private school. You know, it's like, oh, you're so up yourself. But it's so not that. The school that he went to, it suited him to go to that school. We wanted to give him an education that no doubt he could have got at other schools, but it was the school that you know his father went to, his grandfather went to, his great grandfather went to. And I grew up at a public Catholic school, you know, public housing, so I wasn't used to that sort of private school upbringing. But certainly, Connor now, my son, is fantastic. He's got empathy. He's learned all of these things, even though he was at a boys' school. He had girls, obviously, when he was at middle school. So there's no issue at all with him having suddenly discovered girls after he left school. So no, I think it's actually a big issue out of sort of nothing.
Yeah, I think, look, as long as parents can exercise choice, you know, there's
Totally.
a lot of talk now with same-sex schools now having to be co-ed because it's sexist or blah, blah, blah. I think parents should be able to make a choice, Michelle, and the latest analysis of NAPLAN results have revealed that segregating boys and girls, they do perform slightly better when it comes to academic results.
Well, I have a real issue with this because I am adamant that my son is going to go to secondary school and it has to be co-ed, and we're surrounded by single-sex schools. I think he needs to have females around him. He needs that kind of energy around him. He's 10 at the moment, and I think the opposite is true. You know how she was talking about, you know, boys will be boys and girls have a real issue being around them. The opposite is actually true. What I'm finding is for him, the girls are actually, they're sneakier, they're getting away with more in the classrooms, and the boys get yelled at quite often and more. They have a lot more energy and they operate differently to women as well. So I think we need to learn how to treat them equally and give both sexes enough space to learn and be who they are and work out who they are in the world. And you know what? They need to be together.
Yeah, I don't know what girls
also,
she's been teaching if she thinks they're all good.
But I think it's also a matter of, you know, giving, you know, parents choice. If you want to choose to send your child to an all-girls school or a boys' school, you know, you do you. And I think that's, you know, exactly, you know, as Mish said, I mean, you know, your choice is to send, you know, your son to a secondary school with girls. That's fantastic. You know, and I think that is what education and schooling should be about. The choice that we have as parents, we can choose whatever we like to do.
Agree with you entirely. Now, bad news for Qantas frequent flyer members. The points you've been saving up for that first class ticket have reduced in value. In fact, you can hardly get anything. The same number of points that once would have flown you first class to London will now get you a coffee maker. I mean, to be honest, this makes me angrier than all the other stuff that Qantas have done.
Me too.
Michelle, so many Aussies will be filthy.
I mean, Qantas can't win a beat at the moment. I mean, this week has been the worst week in Qantas history in terms of what's going on. You know, you've got the outgoing CEO getting a $24 million bonus while they were sacking baggage handlers and the taxpayers were footing the bill for them to survive during COVID, and they can't even give us some, some first class tickets. Instead, we get a coffee maker. They need to really pull themselves up by the bootstraps. I think they've taken a massive hit here in terms of what people think about this carrier. And at the moment, like the airline itself is not operating in the way and at the standard it should be operating. And I think they really need to do better. And I think Australians have had enough with Qantas at the moment. That name is not where it used to be.
I agree entirely, Melissa. I'm assuming you do.
And I think the issue too, I mean, so many of us have probably got lots and lots of points. I know I have, and I've got so many Qantas points, but I sort of think, when and how can I use them? And I've done a couple of trips of late where I've bought an economy ticket, and I thought, okay, right, well, I'll use my points to hopefully upgrade. And that to me is where your points are best used. But so often you can't do that. And so I think a lot of people are sort of sticking to Qantas because we do have so many points. We forgot we're going to use them. But so it's very hard then to suddenly go, okay, I'm going to use a whole lot of other carriers, and then start another points accumulation with them. So it's sort of we're between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I think a Senate inquiry, they've said that they will look at this issue as well, because to me it feels like a rort. It feels like a con. We're encouraged and told to continue to collect these points, and we're encouraged to use Qantas all the time with our credit cards, everything else, but you can't get anything for them. And I think they're taking the mickey out of Australians. I really do. Now, I want to get to this one really quickly. A mother at work has asked a colleague to swap annual leave with her at Christmas time, but she said no, even though she doesn't have kids or celebrate the festive holiday. I know so many women without children who get so frustrated about this. What do you ladies think? Melissa, I'll go to you first. Should she be able to swap holidays just because this lady doesn't have kids, therefore she's not deserving of Christmas?
You know what? I think even though she doesn't celebrate Christmas, nor does she have children, if she's been told she can have holidays at that time of the year, good on her. I mean, with respect to the woman who has a family and wants to spend Christmas with her family, sorry, that's life. That's work. That's the whole work-life balance. I mean, if you choose to work and you have a child, I mean, we've all got children. We all work, and I know, and all of us being in the media, the amount of times that I've had to work on whether it was a Christmas Day or a Boxing Day or a New Year's Day, it doesn't really matter. But so I actually think the woman who has actually said no, I want to keep my holidays where they are. Good on her.
She's well within her rights. Very quickly, Michelle, I'm out of time. What do you say?
Yeah, look, I think this is disgusting, but I do think that at the end of the day, our society is geared around people having children, and there's paid parental rights and paid parental leave. So I think at the end of the day, no way. You stick with it. You have those.
And post lots of photos on Facebook and Instagram and tag her. Melissa Hoyer and Michelle Stevenson, thank you so much for your time.